everyone, this is Dee Marley again with the History Bards podcast, and I am so thrilled to have Cathie Dunn on the show today. A lot of you out there know her just because of running the Coffee Pot Book Club and the blog tours, which we are connected with the Historical Fiction Company. But y'all need to really get to know her as an author and her brilliant books and where she lives. So just by way of introduction, Cathie, well, let me say it first. I am thrilled to meet you finally and so glad you're on the show today.
Thanks so much for the warm welcome, Dee. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. And it's been years since we've known each other, so
Yes.
it's lovely to actually see each other and to get to chat.
Absolutely,
And
really is.
Yes, we love to chat about books and history, so we're right in there.
Yes, we do. We could go on and on, couldn't we?
Oh, yes.
Well, just as a way of introduction to our listeners, Cathie, can you tell us a little bit about you and your writing journey and where you live and how that's related to the books that you're writing?
Sure. I'm originally from Germany, but I lived in the UK for 19 years. And for the last 8 years, my husband and I have lived in the south of France, in the medieval city of Carcassonne, which is very well known through Kate Moss's Citadel trilogy, I believe. I think it's a trilogy at least. And it's a fabulous old town. And I love living in places which have a lot of historical background. So for me, this is perfect. You're also on the Cathar Trail. For those familiar with the history of the Cathars, the persecution in the 13th century, early 13th century. So there's plenty to see here. I started writing, probably 20 years ago, doing bits here, bits there, not really too focused. And then by 2010, I'd finished some creative writing study courses, and I decided to go very seriously about it. So I did NaNoWriMo one November, and that led to a historical Scottish romance called Highland Arms, which the Wild Rose Press took on very kindly at the time. I now have the rights back, but that was my start to it. And then I began self-publishing my other books because they are a mix of historical fiction, a touch of romance, a bit of political intrigues and all that. So it was quite difficult to find the right publisher for my books.
Right.
And that's why I now self-publish through an author cooperative called Ocelot Press, which I founded together with some author friends. And so...
Well, that's awesome. So let me ask you this with your book, Love, Loss, and Time. So, and that's the one that's based in Carcassonne?
Yes, it's this.
And
this,
so did you writing the book lead you to Carcassonne, or did you go there first and then write it?
I got here first and explored it. And it's quite lovely because the citadel, the chateau inside the citadel, normally is quite expensive to get in. But over the 6 winter months, the first Sunday, it's free to get in. So one winter, I was there literally every month to make the most of it and just gain an idea of the atmosphere, of the vibrancy of it. Walk along the fortified walk through the various towers, some of which even have bases of Roman stones still in the walls, still today. So when you look at the towers from the outside and the walls, you can see the different eras, kind of Romance, medieval, up to modern days, patching up.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes, so that story came to me. We lived in a village, not in a town at the time, and my neighbors showed us an incredible find. They had found human bones when they dug up their kitchen. And they found part of a skull and a couple of other bones, which they very proudly showed us. We're allowed to keep them, which I'm quite amazed.
I am amazed at that too.
So that, together with the history of Carcassonne, led to Love, Lost in Time, which is a dual timeline story. So it's about a young woman who renovates an inherited cottage and discovers bones beneath it. And then also highlighting the history of the woman whose bones they were. So it was good fun to write.
So in your research and being able to visit the castle and all, was there something that really stood out to you that maybe you could share with us that maybe in your research or something like that?
One place, or one tower rather, I really like, that dates back to the Visigoth times. And it was for a while also called the Visigoth Tower. And it's, to me, it felt slightly different. It felt more old, kind of going back in time. So I sat down in the room, and because it was winter, there weren't that many visitors. So the odd ones walked past looking strangely at me. And I just sat there, hands on the ground, enjoying the atmosphere and kind of reading the walls a little, kind of listening to them. And I found that very inspiring.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I think we, as historical fiction authors, we all have like a similar experience of going somewhere and just wanting to immerse yourself in the feeling of being there.
Absolutely.
It really
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
really does like enhance your writing whenever you do that, to visit somewhere.
I think so, yes. I mean, it's unfortunate that often we can't visit the places because they're too far away or too expensive to get to.
Mhm.
But that's one vital piece of advice I give to everyone who wants to write historical fiction. If you
Yeah.
can, if at all possible, go to the place that you want to write about. Get a feel of the atmosphere, of the scenery. Yes, it will have changed, but the earth below you is still the same that it was
Yes.
1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. And if you just sit there, close your eyes and imagine, you can maybe hear the Romans walk along a road, or you can hear people talk in the towers or something like that. It
Yeah.
might not even be a spiritual thing, but it's just something that gives you a little bit of extra, yeah, oomph.
Yeah. It really does. It really does. Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So your book, Love Lost in Time, you said it was a dual timeline and it's based on Carcassonne. But your other books, I think it's Ascent. That's the last one that we were able to review at the Historical Fiction Company. Excellent,
That's right.
excellent book. So
Thank
tell
you.
our listeners a little bit about Ascent and that
Well,
series.
Ascent is the first in a series. The second is unfortunately a bit delayed. It is about Papa of Bayeux,
Mhm.
who was a real person, a real lady. And if you go to the town of Bayeux, it doesn't only have the brilliant exhibition of the
Right, the
tapestry,
tapestry.
but it also has a lovely statue, more modern, to Papa. And Papa was an 8th century young woman who was married to Rollo the Viking. And fans of the Vikings will know who he is. His name wasn't Rollo because Rollo was the Latinized version. So the Danes wouldn't have called him Rollo. And that's why in the book he's called Hrolfr. And they were married by hand fasting, but they came upon turbulent times because he was very clearly a good bit older than her.
Mm-hmm.
And her father is said to be quite treacherous. There were different French sources that I consulted to, which all tell a different story about him. Might not even be the father that is recorded. They had to flee at some point to England and stayed in Eastern England for a while as well. And it was likely there that at least one of their 2 children were born. And then they came back and expanded because as Rollo's influence grew with the Franks, with the West Franks, with the kings, and there were quite a few kings in those days. They seemed to change quite regularly. And he built up quite a bit of influence. He was powerful and he's expanded his territories. And it is said that he cut a deal to get himself baptized. And part of the deal was that he married the then king's daughter. This is not officially confirmed anywhere. There are plenty of sources that cite it, but they don't really reveal the origins, so we don't know what that is. So in Ascent, yes, I have him marry this woman in a church wedding. So his marriage to poor Papa was null and void.
Right.
So she was set aside, and that was quite a difficult part to write, for her to deal with that kind of, deception, treachery, whatever you might want to call it. But it appears from their chronicles that later on they lived together again. And you could find traces of both of them being in the same places. So whatever happened to this other woman, I don't know. I found a handy solution in Ascent, which you probably know.
Yeah.
And
we won't reveal it.
Oh, no. So yes, it was fascinating to write about her. I really loved creating her story and bringing her to life. The next book in the series will be about her daughter-in-law and Papa's son William. And that there's even less detail about those two, about him, yes, but less so about his wife. So that means more creation for me.
Yeah,
to
which is
become
fun.
really creative. Oh yes, absolutely fun. Maybe another trip to Normandy might be on the cards just to get an idea.
That'd be
but
great.
Yes, I enjoyed writing Papa's story. She's a very special lady who should be remembered a bit more widely than she is.
Well, and in your prose, you have a way of revealing that, of showing the passion behind it, and the strength of these women reflects the author as well. You know, the words that you use, the way that you put it together, it really does show the strength of these women through your writing. So it's very, very nice. And we highly recommend it to everyone out there who's listening to please go out and buy Cathie's books. On another topic, we would love to talk to our listeners about the Coffee Pot Book Club, because a lot of people don't know about these services, and we really want to want authors to know about it, because it's a very valuable thing for marketing. And so maybe you could tell a little bit more about how you got it from, because a lot of people know Marianne Yard, and how she started it and how you've developed it.
Sure, yes, absolutely. I have known the Coffee Pot Book Club for some years as a customer, as a writer, and always enjoyed Marianne's wonderful promotions, be that guest posts or blog tours even. I gained some wonderful reviews from some of the lovely hosts. So I've always been aware of it. Sadly, it was possibly meant to be closed, or there were some changes underway at the time 2 years ago now. Actually almost exactly 2 years ago. And I chatted to Marianne to say I'm happy to take it over, because it is such an important source for authors that should not really kind of be left to die, sadly. Yes, that's when I took over, and Marianne kindly instructed me in everything I needed to know. We had several Zoom sessions where she explained everything in great detail, and I copied some of her posts just to get the style, get to know the style and everything. Yes, and it's good fun. We offer blog tours, different types of blog tours for different sizes of purses. So it's it doesn't need to break the bank to get out there and be shared and promoted through our network. And we offer editorial book reviews as well, plus guest posts on our blog, which gets hundreds of hits every day. So it's a very, very popular blog as well. And we're just very happy to promote authors. Marianne is still in the background. She's still there as an editorial reviewer with us as well. So we still work together, and she's also now started to run promotional business again, which I would absolutely highly recommend to anyone.
Me too, definitely. So can you maybe tell the authors a little bit about how it would benefit them, how blog tours benefit them?
Blog tours can be a lot of work. That's the caveat I want to say up front, because we have the longer and bigger blog tours, which require guest posts to be written, interviews to be completed, everything in writing, so no visuals or anything. So authors can do that in their own time and prepare for it. But it has been quite a struggle for some, I must say, who did not anticipate the amount of work that may be involved.
Exactly.
So that's a word of advice. If you want a big blog tour, give it a lot of time in advance so we can plan well ahead and give yourself a lot of time to prepare all these posts. What we do, we create banners. We provide the base for the blog tour page on our blog. We promote across social media, and we're quite visible across the board. We're, of course, on Twitter, or X, as it's known now, Facebook. We have a lovely group on Facebook. We don't use the page as much, but the group is growing nicely. We're on Blue Sky, on Threads, on Instagram, and we have boards for all of our tours on Pinterest as well. So we spread quite widely. Because we notice different authors use different outlets. So there's always one that might fit one or another.
Right. Well,
and of course, before I forget, we have our Book of the Year awards as well.
Yes, you do. And that was one of the things I was going to point out is in connection with each other, we've created this double entry for the contest for the Historical Fiction Company and the contest for the Coffee Pot Book Club. And that includes editorial reviews from both companies. So it's definitely something that, I appreciate so much, the collaboration, because I really feel like all of it can benefit authors. The blog tours can benefit because lots of times authors don't know what to do as far as marketing. And I think I always recommend blog tours as the first go-to. Because you're going to get a wide range of viewers, from each blog. And so that's always the first go-to that I recommend.
Yes, that's right. All our hosts have their own little or big group of followers, some bigger, some a little smaller, some are a little more niche, some are more wide in terms of the fiction that they offer, which is great because you find readers interested in all sorts. So someone who might not necessarily pick up a historical fiction book would see something on tour and they go, oh, I like the sound of that. So whoops, there you are, you have a new reader. And I think it's a brilliant exposure for authors to be across everywhere. And also, it has to be said, to connect with other authors. A lot of our hosts are authors, and that's something that's often overlooked in that new authors ask, oh, but I want readers. Authors are voracious readers. We read a lot. And we recommend a lot as well. So getting into this kind of network, following other authors, engaging with other authors, which you do on a blog tour, is so beneficial. It's really, really important.
It really is, because it's like a co-op, and also it's like a great community. The historical fiction community is so great about doing that, about supporting each other, sharing. There may be a question on Facebook about somebody looking for a particular thing, and right off, if you're connected with another author, you're going to recommend them. So it's a great way to collaborate with each other. Very recommended.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Well, we really do appreciate you. Oh, well, let me ask you this. So you were talking earlier about your books, and you were talking about the ones coming up. I know you said there was a little delay. So what do you have planned, and what's coming up for you?
The next one that's on the cards is the sequel to Ascent. It's the story of a lady called Sprota, who was apparently from Brittany, so right next to Normandy. And she features towards the end of Ascent as the partner for Papa's son, not the wedded wife as it would be. So her story is similar to Papa's, but she did not have that kind of noble background that Papa has, very clearly, because Papa, there are records about her, there are records about her family, even though the sources can't be sure which is her family, but it was a noble family. With Sprota, there's nothing. So she seems to come from obscure origins, and I intend to make the most of that.
Of course, absolutely. And when do you have a possible release date or?
Possibly the end of this year, beginning of
Okay.
2025 next year. Yeah.
Okay, well, that sounds really great. I know all of your fans are going to be anxiously awaiting for that.
Thank you. Very
Thank you
kind.
so much, Cathie, for being on the show today. It's been a thrill to meet you finally in person, and I'm sure, everybody out there is going to, hopefully go out and get your book and sign up for the blog tours at the same time. That's what we want.
Absolutely. And our mutual reviews and contest entries as well, not to be forgotten. So thank you very, very much for having me here. I
you're very
really
welcome.
enjoyed my time here, and it was, as I said, lovely to finally meet you. And I wish you and our viewers a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. And we're going to post like this big picture of the castle so everybody can know how close you are, that you can see it through your windows. I think that's just amazing.
Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I can send you some photos.
One last thing. Can you tell our listeners about your website and also the Coffee Pot Book Club website?
Yes, my website is quite nice and easy. It's cathiedunn.com, Cathie with an IE and Dunn without an E. Yeah. We've had also, so cathiedunn.com. And the Coffee Pot Book Club, we are in the process of setting up a proper website, but it's still not completely finished. So it's at the moment still the coffeepotbookclub.blogspot.com. Okay. That's where we are.
Okay, that sounds great. And we will definitely post those links, both of those links, on the screen. Wonderful. So that everybody can see where to go to. And again, go out and get Cathie's books, sign up for a blog tour. And if you ever have any questions about either company, you can either contact Cathie or me, and we will be glad to help you out. Absolutely. Get in touch. The details are on the websites. I'm also on social media, both as Cathie Dunn as the Coffee Pot Book Club. So don't hesitate to get in touch. Well, thank you again so much. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for listening today. And as always, keep making history and keep listening.